Growing up in the 80s and 90s, my mother was a successful real estate agent, then a broker, and ultimately owned her own company. If you know anything about the real estate industry, it's cutthroat. It's really cutthroat in a fiercely competitive world. Well, back then, to grow your business, you needed more agents. More agents could serve more potential clients. It was really a simple people problem. More people usually meant more business, and your company grew. Well, fast forward 40 years, the market's still cutthroat, but the best performers use automation to grow. Onboarding new clients, marketing, whether it be to potential clients or the properties themselves, and then closing transactions. They're all driven by the great use of automation. Well, gone are the days where I needed to research the value of homes on microfiche or manually key contract information and property information into the multiple listing service. Those are all tedious tasks. And if you thought about it, you might be in the same boat. You're in a fiercely competitive market, and I bet you know some of the areas where you could increase your competitiveness by using automation. Over the past year, maybe a couple years now, you've been thinking to yourself, hey, it's getting harder and harder to find the people I need to really drive growth in the business. And you're not alone. The truth of the matter is there's 2 jobs for every person in the US. So to keep up with and surpass your competitors in this fiercely competitive world, you're going to need to turn to automation, and intelligent capture is one of the first places that you should look. Add to that, consumer expectations are increasing all the time. The way we've done business needs to continually evolve to these changing expectations. Think about your own personal life as a consumer. I don't know about you, but prior to COVID and in the last couple of years, I love being able to get anything delivered to my house in a day from Amazon. In some locales, products were received the same day they were ordered. The expectation of the consumer has continually risen. And that's not just for the consumer products, but business solutions too. You need your most valuable resource, your people, to continue to focus on the customer and find a way to eliminate or minimize those mundane tasks like data entry that they're doing today. So let's cover the agenda of what we want to talk about today. First, I kind of talked a little bit about why we want to consider automation within your process. You're going to need to turn to automation with a focus on capture, also known as intelligent document processing, so that your human capital can focus on making the most important decisions to drive the business. Rather than complete these mundane tasks like manually indexing documents, let's let technology do the simple stuff. But before we rush into technology, I'll share the pillars of a successful digital transformation and how building your why story is critical to fostering change within your organization. And then we'll touch on the history of intelligent document capture and its evolution over the past 30 years. I'll explain some of the buzzwords that you're hearing as you research automation right now. Again, why do you need to consider automation? In the past, you could simply add people to that process to process more work, and it's just not the case today. The fierce competition taking place is for that human capital. My oldest daughter just received and is finishing up her nursing degree. She applied for an internship, and because of the shortage of workers, she had an interview within 48 hours. Savvy employers know if you don't move quickly, another company is going to hire that person as soon as possible. On top of that, I already mentioned customer expectations of automation within your process to reduce the friction of doing business with you as a whole. It's not just your customers you need to think about as well, too. Your employees are really critical in this process. They want to complete meaningful work. No one finishes school and thinks, oh, I want to get a job where I'm keying information, sometimes the same information, into multiple different systems. I've got a brain, shouldn't I be using it? The bottom line is that when your staff feels like the work that they're doing has purpose, they feel more fulfilled and their performance is going to increase overall. Happier employees. So as you determine where you think automation will play a role in your organization, before we start rolling out technology, we need to think about change management. And so Believing in the why behind a change can really inspire your team to change their behavior. In practice, though, many transformation leaders falsely assume that the why is clear to the broader organization, and they fail to spend enough time communicating the rationale behind the change efforts that are taking place, the ones they need to make. People frequently overestimate the extent of which others share their own attitudes, beliefs, and opinions, and that's a tendency known as the false consensus effect. So you need to work on developing your why. McKinsey builds on this behavior and the need for humans to understand the why. It's important for leaders to develop that story and that help all the stakeholders understand where the company's headed, why it's changing, and why that change is important. But just telling the story isn't enough. You need to provide a feedback loop so that you can sense how the story is being received. The stories not only help get the message out, but it also serves as an influencing tool as well. Successful change management comes from the top as leaders, and sometimes leaders can get fatigued by telling this why story over and over, but it's critical to the success of any digital transformation. So while we are going to focus a little bit of attention on technologies here, it's just one of the components of success. And I've been saying it for years, technology is actually the easy part. We need to make sure we're first focused on the people and process that drive your organization. So these are the three pillars to any successful digital transformation. Helping your team develop and create the story about the why you're undertaking is more important than the how. We've mentioned that a couple times. And a careful review of your process using traditional review methods, but also tools like process mining solutions to ensure that we clearly understand exactly what's going on. We can eliminate the bias that might exist from staff that are describing how something works or how it's supposed to be working. Process mining tools actually will help shine a light on what's actually being done. So as your guide, you'll rely on our experience working with hundreds of organizations over the past 35 years to bring best practices to your process that's going to lead ultimately to your digital transformation success. Let's shift gears now and talk a little bit about capture, also known as intelligent document processing. Capture really started more than 30 years ago with scanning and capture templates, meaning we look for information in the same spot on a document every single time. But if the format of that document changed for any reason, now we needed to rebuild the template for capturing this information off of that document type. Then in the 90s, we developed rules-based capture, which looked for keywords and then information surrounding those keywords. An example would be, hey, we're looking for the social security number on this document. So I know I'm going to be looking for a pattern of 9 digits in a standard social security number format. It often then takes thousands of samples to increase the effectiveness of capture using this rule-based model. Well, now technology continues to advance where it's processed so many document types that intelligence is really built into capture to understand not only the type of document that we're working with, and then automatically read it and locate the most important information we need off of that document. And so we're going to dig into some of the nuances of those capture terms right now. The overarching solution we talk about is intelligent document processing. It uses artificial intelligence and those AI-based technologies to process structured, semi-structured, and unstructured documents. Businesses employ intelligent document processing as an integral part of their overall hyper-automation strategy. An IDP enables what we call straight-through processing of documents by automatically capturing, extracting, and processing that data that's embedded in those documents to minimize the amount of time people need to spend looking for the information that's most important to drive that business decision. One layer deeper then is artificial intelligence. It's really an umbrella term for computer software that mimics human cognition in order to perform complex tasks to learn from them. And so now I can complete some tasks to understand the document type. Machine learning then takes it a step further. It's a subfield of AI that uses algorithms trained on data to produce adaptable models that can perform a variety of complex tasks. First and foremost is usually just understanding the document type that we're working with. And then deep learning really builds out that gives the ability for computers to be able to perform those tasks without actually being programmed. I'm just going to put a bunch of documents into a queue that's going to be read by this technology, and it already understands what to look for based on the neural networks that we've built along the way, and it just knows the type of document to identify and the information that's most important that I need to drive my business. So now I'm going to take one step deeper into the actual technology here. We use a product called Vantage by ABBYY. And if you've heard of ABBYY before, they're a leader in the intelligent document processing space. They're actually really more than a leader. They're quite the visionary. They've been around for many, many years. And the platform uses the experience of capturing billions of records over the past 30 years as the foundation for this solution. Vantage uses skills to build automation. Think of it as a platform similar to your phone. If you're like me, you've got an iPhone, and the phone can give you the foundation to maybe make phone calls, receive texts, some basic things. But if you want to enhance the power of that solution, I go to the App Store and I can purchase or receive free plugin skills from there and make the phone much more effective. Well, like that, ABBYY uses the marketplace to provide skills to improve the effectiveness of intelligent document processing. I don't need that. That means I don't need someone that's really technical to load up that application for me every time I want to use my phone. That's kind of that low code, no code platform that allows me to more easily enhance it. Well, Vantage does the same thing. It uses artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning to make it easier to process your documents. Vantage thinks like a human and typically can understand the document type and most important, the information from that document and deliver that meaningful data needed to drive and help the business user. So as I mentioned or teased before, Vantage has a marketplace where you can add these skills to complete the automation you're looking for, whether that be capture from invoices or tax documents, maybe it's identification cards, or just about anything you need. If it's not already built, it's easy to use the designer to get you to the data that you need faster than was possible with capture solutions in previous iterations. And I don't want to get too technical here, but because Vantage uses the latest microservices and containerized architecture as the deployment model, running in the cloud is the norm here. So it really supports your efforts to move to the cloud as well. And in addition to that, Naviant, we've built a skill to integrate OnBase to Vantage. So it makes it easier for our customers to interact with the Capture Suite and their Enterprise Content Management Suite as well. So we can deploy that in conjunction with OnBase to advance and enhance your existing investment. Well, in conjunction with the news that I started off with today, Forbes recently cited a Forrester research estimate that by 2024, the US will have a deficit of 500,000 software developers. Well, in a movement that really started 10 years ago, businesses are becoming more citizen developers to infuse automation with low code and no code solutions. With the advancements in intelligent document processing solutions like Vantage, we expect to see much more citizen developers deploying the solutions with the AI tools in hand. Not only because it makes them more effective, but more so because there's fewer technical people to just deploy these solutions. So we've got to adapt and continue to take advantage of automation to help us continue to grow. So now you might be asking yourself, this is great, but how do I know it's going to work for me? Where's this done before, and how do I get started? Well, simply stated, IDP works with any document, but especially on unstructured documents where the information can be found anywhere, right? Because that deep learning or that neural network I talked about, IDP is thinking like a human would to identify the document type and extract information from it, just like you or I would read it. So some use cases that we most commonly see would include in the accounting department. Maybe the payables team processing invoices, or the accounts receivable team processing orders. They're really the flip side of the same coin if you think about it. An order is very similar to an invoice. Another area would be anywhere that you might need to capture proof of identity, perhaps for healthcare setting to prevent some type of fraud, or within a state agency like a motor vehicle department. In human resources, the capture of content from the application process, maybe the change of emergency contact information, or other types of areas we see captured be very effective there. Or perhaps more specifically in the insurance space, the capture of data from first notice of loss, a healthcare claim, or an explanation of benefit. Those are just a couple of the examples that we see and our customers have recognized value with IDP. So what did I hope you took away from today's content? This was really just a brief touch on it, but in essence, it's continuing to get harder and harder to find the people that you need to help grow your business. So we need to make sure that our people are doing the most valuable tasks within the organization, the ones where people need to make decisions. Digital transformation is so much more than just implementing technology. Developing and telling your why story will mean much more to your success than the actual technology will. So let's let technology like Vantage from ABBYY take care of that capture of data to make our human capital more efficient and much happier. They really don't want to be the ones that are keying that information to begin with, right? So let's make them more efficient throughout the organization. And ultimately, the faster you get this information into your system to process orders or onboard new staff or process a claim, the faster you're meeting the increasing demands of your customers. Their expectations, just like yours and mine, are increasing all the time. Well, today's session was really aimed at providing you with a very small morsel of the feast of possibilities that's available to you today. To learn more and to talk about your specific situation, please reach out to me to get started. But now is the time. Now you need to get started, because the longer you wait, the longer it takes to increase your position in this fiercely competitive landscape.